Hey there, race fans. It's Race Day Top 5 with me, Frank 5. New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the Magic Mile. A flat track that provides some entertaining racing with side-by-side, differing strategies, a lot of tire wear, a big fat lobster as a trophy, and our 14th different winner of the season. Can the season get any more unpredictable than this? Let's talk about all that went down at the Magic Mile. Number 1, Christopher Bell, the young dirt racer who came up from an upbringing of dirt racing, transitioned to the NASCAR scene in 2015 in the Truck Series, became a full-time Cup driver in 2020, got his first career Cup win at the Daytona Road Course last year in race 2 of the season. Yesterday picked up his second career Cup win, his first win of the season, winning the ambetter 301 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway in a late race pass for the lead to hold off Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, Martin Truex Jr., and Kevin Harvick to add his name to the list of winners this year, and now a playoff driver. Christopher Bell has been known for running very well at this racetrack, particularly in the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series. He was always competitive. Won a race there at the Truck Series, I think, in 2017. Also won there last year in the Xfinity Series in 2021. He's always been a guy to beat there, especially when he went up against guys like Kyle Busch. In 2020, he had a really rough race. He didn't really compete for the win. Last year, he was very competitive and battling for the win. It looked like he was going to win his second race of the season. Till late in the going, Eric Almirola got by him, and he could just never run him down for the victory. And he came up short of his second win in that race. Well, yesterday, he ran top 10 for the majority of the race. Wasn't dominant, but still stayed within the leaders for the most part. Then when the final caution of the race came out in Stage 3 for Todd Gilliland going around, a lot of drivers, including Christopher Bell, opted to come to pit road. Most of them, and the latter half of the drivers that came off of pit road, took 4 tires. And those 4 tires paid dividends as they came flying through the field. Christopher Bell worked his way up to 4th with about 60 laps to go. Then while trying to run down Chase Elliott for the lead, while also negotiating with Kurt Busch and Joey Logano, who were on different fuel strategies compared to the other two. It was pretty much a race between Elliott and Bell for the victory. When both of them got by, it was pretty much a race for the victory, pending we did not get another caution. And with 42 laps to go, Bell got to the inside, passed Chase Elliott, and drove away. He even came on the radio when Adam Stevens' crew chief, who nearly was not at this race because of their near miss last week at Atlanta, where they lost a tire in the pit box, but they said if you lose it on pit road or a certain amount of pit stalls, you're not going to lose your crew chief or your 2 crew members that were responsible for that. They dodged a big bullet last week with that incident. Bell got the lead with 42 laps to go from Chase Elliott, never looked back. But on the radio, as he was trying to run down Elliott, Stevens told him, where he was better, and Bell pretty much shut Adam Stevens up, saying, I got this. Don't need to talk to me. I got this. And he got it. He took the lead. He didn't look back, and he just ran down those final 42 laps, praying that there wasn't a caution, which there never was, and held on for his first win of the season, and now has a lobster to his trophy case. I wonder if he and his wife ate it for dinner, though. But with this win, Christopher Bell is officially locked into the playoffs as the 14th different winner. But, I want to say but, what happens if we get 3 new winners down the stretch, and Christopher Bell doesn't win another race? Based on playoff points, he's out. So Christopher Bell better pray that we don't get 3 new winners these next few races. Remember, we have 6 races to go in the regular season. So Bell is in the playoffs for the time being. It was a great run, a great drive for him and the 20 team. But just be satisfied when we have hopefully 15 winners or 14 winners by the time we get to Daytona. Then you'll feel very happy. But a great drive by Christopher Bell and the 20 team yesterday. A team that literally lately has had some good runs. Even though they've been mired with bad luck, they've had good runs, and they felt like they've had one of the best cars that gives this year. That's debatable in my opinion, but they've been one of the best. But nonetheless, a great run for Christopher Bell and his team yesterday. Number 2, Chase Elliott, hot as it's been hot lately. 4 straight races of top 2 finishes. A win at Nashville, a second place at Road America, could have been a win. A win at Atlanta, his home track. A second place yesterday, could have been a win. Chase Elliott is got a wave of momentum right now. He is just riding this wave like there's no tomorrow. Elliott had a good run yesterday, and it was probably one of the best cars Elliott has ever had at New Hampshire, because this track, let's face it, over the years he hasn't really had a winning race car. 2018, though, was another exception because In that race, they ran really well the entire day. He got his first stage win of the season. Of course, that race was 2 weeks before he got his first Cup win in the Cup Series at Watkins Glen. He was strong in that race, finished 5th. Yesterday was his most complete race. Started on the front row in 2nd place, kind of faded back to 5th, but then worked his way up forward through a long run. Then after a pit stop in the beginning of stage 2, he pitted, but then they had to come back in because they didn't tighten up the lug nuts. They didn't lose a wheel. If they did, Alan Gufson would have been suspended for 4 races. But they tightened those lugs, and Elliott came flying through the field like he had that bullet bill attachment you get when you play Mario Kart. That thing was a rocket ship through that field. Passed him like there was no tomorrow, got up to the top 5 and the top 3 by the end of stage 2, and was a competitor for the win at the end, racing guys like Bell and Martin Truex and Kevin Harvick. If Elliott hadn't abused the tires while trying to pass Joey Logano or Kurt Busch, who were on different strategies at the very end, we could have been talking about Chase Elliott winning and not Christopher Bell. But he ultimately made, he made a mistake on his post-race interview. He said, I made mistakes, and you can't keep making those mistakes even when you have cars like we've been having. We can't keep forward to making mistakes. Even though he owned up to making his mistakes, you still can't deny that 4 consecutive weeks of top 2 finishes, which includes 2 wins, is very, very impressive. And the momentum is continuing to stay with this 9 car, and they're continuing to extend their point lead in the regular season standings over Ross Chastain and Ryan Blaney, who did not have a good run yesterday. He's now 67 points clear. That's almost a full race over Ross Chastain for the regular season championship. If he can keep this momentum going, then he might clinch the regular season championship before we get to Daytona. But let's not go too far. Let's stay with the here and now. And the 9 team on the here and now has still been consistent and consistently strong and is contending for race wins. Yes, they didn't win yesterday, but they had a great run. So the 9 team, great job on another solid run in the Cup Series. 4 straight weeks of top 2 finishes. I can't believe this. This is very, very impressive. Number 3, Martin Truex Jr. and Kevin Harvick. What could have been? Martin Truex Jr. by far was the class of the field yesterday. Won the pole on Saturday, won stage 1 while leading all the laps, won stage 2, and looked to be the guy in stage 3 with the track position he had. But when that final pit stop happened, he elected to take fuel only and no tires. They're going to look back on that and regret that decision because when the restart happened, Truex slipped back to 10th. He couldn't go anywhere. He said, I don't know what's wrong with this car, but it's not handling well. Well, he did work his way back up to a 4th place finish, which is still solid considering the day they had. And Kevin Harvick, who coming into a track where he has won in the past and recently won that in 2019, I thought he would contend for the win. And it looked like he had a car equally similar to Martin Truex by the end of stage 2 because he was running him down for that stage win. It looked like Harvick had the car to maybe compete with Truex if both were battling for the win at the end. However, that was not the case. Like Truex, Harvick elected to take no tires, and that probably hurt them as well, but they were able to rebound for a 5th. However, with the Christopher Bell win, Martin Truex Jr. is now the last guy in on points by 68 points. Again, that's pretty much a full race ahead of Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick is now in must-win territory. Can I see any races up and coming where Harvick could win? Pocono, yes. Michigan, yes. A road course, there's no way he's winning a road course. I have not seen the speed out of Kevin Harvick to win at a road course. Martin Truex, possibly, because he knows how to run road courses. But these two, after they seemed to be the class of the field yesterday, now find themselves in a precarious spot with Truex's teammate winning. Truex is now the last guy in on points at the time being. If we get a new winner that's not Martin Truex, that's below him in points, he's the first guy out. And I don't think he's got enough points to run down Ryan Blaney. So they made the comment a few weeks ago. James Malscrucci said, we need to win to make the playoffs. Well, Truex said, no, we're going to get on points. We're going to be fine. Yeah, now you have to win, buddy, because you're the last guy on points. It's time to win right now. They've had the speed recently. They've had speed. They just need to put it together. I thought yesterday was the day for him. I thought it could have also been the day for Harvick. That was not the case, but nonetheless, good runs by both guys. If they can keep this momentum going, eventually both will be able to break into victory lane. Number 4, 2311 Racing. What a week. What a race for them yesterday. First of all, let's start off with the race before we get into some big news that happened last week. So, Bubba Wallace with a 3rd place finish. His best finish since the 2nd place finish in the Daytona 500 earlier this year. This was by far the best performance the 23 team has put together since the 500 earlier this year, because week after week after week, it's been issue after issue, mostly because the pit crew keeps letting him down. But they made a pit crew change a few weeks ago with Christopher Bell's crew. Well, it seemed to work both ways for both teams this weekend. Bell got the win, Bubba got a third place finish, and he didn't just run third place at the very end because of track position. He legitimately ran in the top 5, top 10 for the majority of the race. He was so good. I don't think he had the speed to battle for the win, but they had the speed to stay in the top 5, top 10. That's where they were the entire day. The lowest they fell back to was like 15th, but they worked their way back up there. And he said he was so proud of the performance, but he knows now, seeing Bell winning, that time's running out for him to get a win, and we don't know how many more winners we're going to get down the stretch if they're different winners and not repeat winners. But Bella had a good run yesterday. Same with Kurt Busch, who took the strategy late to stay out with other guys like Joey Logano and Cole Custer. He took a little bit of a fuel gamble, led some laps. Then he had to pit late in the going. But in the final 30 laps, he went from a lap down in 22nd to literally finishing in the 10th position at the conclusion of yesterday's race with 4 fresh tires and fuel. That's very, very impressive by Kurt Busch and that 45 team. Round of applause for the whole team for an amazing weekend at New Hampshire. And it's been a big week for the team as they announced on Tuesday, in a somewhat crazy announcement, that Tyler Reddick, who's currently driving for Richard Childress Racing, is joining 2311 Racing in 2024. Now, what car number will he drive? We don't know. Will it be a third car, or will he possibly replace one of the drivers? They're not replacing Bubba, because he's the guy that got him started. Of course, their first year as a team, he won last year at Talladega. He's not going anywhere. They said to Kurt Busch, stick around as long as you want. I mean, Kurt Busch, even in his early 40s, is still very, very competitive. But I feel like next year is the final year for Kurt Busch, in my opinion. But we don't know. But it's a big opportunity for 2311 to get a young, talented driver, a 2-time Xfinity champion, and a guy who just won his first Cup race a few weeks ago at Road America. You couldn't have picked a better guy to put on your team to make them better and possibly be competing for race wins and championships in the near future. So already making moves. Now the big question for Tyler Reddick, is he going to stay with Richard Childress Racing for next year? Because RCR did release a statement about the announcement, and they're not really happy. So I don't know where Tyler Reddick could possibly drive next year. I think he'll stay with Richard Childress Racing for his last year on the contract, but they could break out of it. So we'll see, but it was just a big week regarding 2311 Racing with the news on Tuesday and the spectacular weekend they had yesterday. And number 5, New Hampshire Motor Speedway racing product with this next-gen car for a track that's relatively flat and doesn't produce a lot of banging in the corners. I thought it was a really good race. Really competitive race. First stage was pretty quiet. Second stage and final stage, we got amped up with some good competitive racing and some differing strategies, which kind of threw a mixed bag into track position versus tires and, wanting to move yourself up. There was a lot of comers and goers in the majority of those restarts where guys would go up to the front on fresh tires. Some guys, even on old tires, if you reach in the top 5, if you could somehow stay inside the top 10 for a couple of laps and not lose too much track position, you did a really good job with the call. The racing yesterday in general and the battles, particularly for the win at the end and the lead with about 50 laps to go, really good racing. It was so much fun to watch. I mean, the racing in New Hampshire over the previous couple of years has gotten better because up until then, it kind of was like lackluster, not a lot of fun to watch. 2018 was pretty good. 2019 was good. 2020 was really good. Last year was even fun with the surprise upset. Yesterday's race with the next-gen car, really good. Remember, this track is relatively similar to Gateway. Flat track, though Gateway has a little banking in turns 1 and 2 versus New Hampshire Motor Speedway in total. But I felt like we had good racing yesterday and a lot of cautions kind of set up these restarts, and we got to see some phenomenal battles all around. Not just for the lead, but for second, third, fourth, fifth, all through the pack. And different lanes. We didn't put down the BJ1 to add some grip, which I commend NASCAR for not putting it down because I think like the racing that we got yesterday without it was very, very good. So good racing at New Hampshire in general and a good crowd to see a very entertaining race yesterday. So now with New Hampshire in the books and the lobster handed to Christopher Bell, we're off to the Tricky Triangle in Pocono where there's going to be a lot of shifting with the sequential shifter. This will be a very interesting race with this shifting module. Will the drivers' transmissions be able to hold up for the entire day? It'll be interesting. Could we get our 15th different winner? Because this track can also produce strategy when it comes to track position versus wanting stage points. It's going to be an interesting race next weekend, but You never know what's going to happen at the Tricky Triangle. That's why they say it's so tricky and it can be unpredictable. So what will happen next weekend? Will Chase Elliott continue his hot streak and maybe go first, second, maybe first? Will Christopher Bell get his second win of the season after winning yesterday? Or will some of our top stars like a Martin Truex, a Ryan Blaney, or Kevin Harvick break through and finally lock themselves into the playoffs next weekend? All those questions remain to be answered. We will answer them next weekend when we go to Pocono, and I think it'll be a fun race to watch. So thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, like, and congrats to Christopher Bell and the 20 team on their amazing win at the Magic Mile in New Hampshire yesterday. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. Let's go racing!